You read that right. Your furnace just became illegal, and in this video, we're going to be talking about a law that was recently passed in the state of Colorado banning 80% efficient furnaces as of 2026. Now, we're going to talk about what this means for you and what this potentially means for other states going forward, because although this only currently affects residents in the state of Colorado, this will definitely start to affect people in other states and potentially federally. Now, if you're living in Canada or another state like New Jersey, for example, that's already passed a similar law where a high efficiency furnace has been mandated and it's no longer optional, then this might not be a shock to you, but I'm going to talk to you about what the repercussions are for this and why I actually think it's a bad idea. Because although I know they are well intentioned in wanting to mandate this, more efficient HVAC equipment, the bottom line is that there are certain scenarios where an 80% furnace still makes a lot more sense, and there's a much better way to go about this, and I'll talk about what should have been done in my opinion instead. But before we get started, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We put out daily and weekly content on how you can get the best HVAC for your home and keep you up to date on the latest HVAC equipment trends. And just to clarify what this law that was passed in Colorado essentially means, it means that for all furnaces installed in the year 2026 or later will have to be high efficiency furnaces. And if you're not familiar with the difference between a high efficiency furnace and an 80% efficient furnace, I will make sure to link a video at the end of this video that talks about high efficiency furnaces and explains the differences. And the reason that that matters is that there are certain design and installation considerations that really need to be made for high efficiency furnaces that are not always available in a retrofit application on existing buildings. Now, there's obviously been a big push for decarbonization, and it's no secret that the motivation behind these types of efficiency mandates is that reason, but I strongly disagree with this, and there's a better option in my opinion, because if decarbonization is what the state of Colorado is trying to accomplish, what would actually be a better option is at least allowing an exception for a dual fuel application. And if you're not familiar with what a dual fuel system is, I explained that in another video, which again, I'll make sure to link that as well at the end of this video. But the reason that 80% efficient furnaces should be used in dual fuel applications, at least in Colorado, is because they are almost never running and only there for backup heat on the coldest nights of the year. The low ambient heat pumps that we install in Colorado, for example, keep up down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit before having to switch to backup heat, which in this case would be a furnace, and this might only happen 2 or 3 nights out of the year, most winters in Denver. So if that's what their goal was, it would have been better to allow 80% systems in a retrofit application, because you can't always install a high efficiency furnace, and I'll explain why in a second. But the good news is that you do not have to go out and replace your furnace overnight just because of this law. What it does mean though is that as of January 1st, 2026, you will no longer be able to get 80% efficient furnaces installed. So if you want an 80% efficient furnace installed, then 2025 will be your last year to be able to get that done. So if you've been putting off replacing your furnace but don't want to make the investment for a high efficiency furnace, then I would make sure that you get this done this year or 2025, because afterwards it will no longer be an option. And one of the reasons this is a problem is that one of the design considerations that goes into play with high efficiency furnaces when retrofitting a house that had an existing 80% existing furnace is running a new high efficiency exhaust. If the mechanical room has access to an exterior wall, then that is not a big deal. But oftentimes, especially in older homes with finished basements, it is not as easy to run a high efficiency exhaust without cutting holes in the ceiling in order to make sure you are getting enough slope on the exhaust and to secure it properly, because you have to secure it every 4 feet per code. This can be very labor intensive and is oftentimes a reason that our customers, especially those that already have a solar setup, will often opt for a low ambient heat pump instead with an 80% backup instead of a high efficiency furnace, because financially it will be cheaper to run anyways unless you're already renovating the basement. Most of our customers don't like us cutting holes in their ceilings any more than is absolutely necessary. So that's another downside with having to run an exhaust for a high efficiency furnace. Now, I know that some people will disagree with me, so if you're a contractor or homeowner, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is an 80% efficient system something you've been considering? I'm all for putting in high-end technology, but not at the expense of homeowners not being able to get what they want and do what makes the most sense for their home. The difference between a high efficiency furnace and an 80% efficiency furnace can be thousands of dollars, because it's not just the cost of equipment that you're paying for when you're having to get a new system installed, and for the government to mandate this without any sort of tax credit or rebate rebate to offset that, I think is very unfair. But the good news is that you do have another year or 2 years before this takes effect, so at least it's not an overnight thing. And it also doesn't mean that you're going to have to rip out an 80% efficient furnace in your home in the future. It just means that there's less options for you to choose from. Now I'm going to attach the bill in the description for your reference, and on page 41 of it is where it actually references the emission standards, and in section C it says 14 nanograms of NOx per joule for fan type central furnaces. And what this means in layman's terms is that's the emission standards. And it also says that any equipment that is Energy Star certified qualifies on the following page, on page 42, section 2. But the bottom line is that this means your system has to be a high efficiency furnace. There are not really any ultra low NOx 80% efficient systems out there, although they might develop some. And what I have heard through the grapevine, because I did ask this question, is that for people that absolutely cannot put in a 96% efficient furnace, for example, in a condo where there's no way to run a new exhaust without an exorbitant substantial cost, they may develop an ultra low NOx 80% efficient product to meet this. But the way the law reads currently, it's basically forcing you to put in a high efficiency furnace. And like I said, I will make sure to link this in the description for your convenience so you can reference this bill for yourself. This is Colorado Senate Bill 23-1161, and because a lot of these laws will be passed at the state level, it's important to talk to a local contractor in your area because they're going to be up to snuff on what's going on in your city and state. For example, I wouldn't worry about this coming to warmer states and places like Arizona anytime soon because furnaces don't really run long enough for them to really care, at least not in Phoenix, right? Northern Arizona is obviously a lot colder, but my point is that a local contractor will be able to help you and figure out if this is something that you're faced with. They're going to know the ins and outs of the local laws and what equipment is going to be best for your situation, because the truth is that there's a lot of other options out there, and we consult with homeowners on a regular basis for what types of technologies are coming to the market, because there's things like air to water heat pumps that will work in even the coldest of climates. So even if a law does pass like this in your state, there will always be a way to navigate it in a way that minimizes its impact on you. And if you happen to be in one of the areas we service, like Denver, Colorado, or Phoenix, Arizona, you can actually schedule an appointment with us for free. We come out for free for all first-time customers, whether that's for a service call or annual maintenance, or if you're just looking for an estimate for system replacement. And there's actually a link in the description below where you can actually schedule online at your convenience, as well as an up-to-date list of the cities and states that we service, so you can stay up to date when we start servicing your metro. And as mentioned earlier, there's a few videos popping up on the screen right now that talk about dual fuel applications as well as high efficiency furnaces and explains what the difference between those are. So check those out if you haven't done so already, and we will catch you on the next episode.